What exactly are Horcruxes? Where do they originate from? How are they connected to cannibalism? And why are they so significant to the Dark Lord? Let's dig into it. JK Rowling hasn't mentioned where the idea for Horcruxes came from, but the concept of soul containers exists in different mythologies from all around the world. For example, European folklore tells stories of undead creatures known as the Lich, who are basically powerful magicians who made themselves immortal by binding their spirits to their corpses after death. To do this, they used a container called a phylactery, which is essentially a Horcrux. In the case of the Harry Potter saga, however, there's one folklore tale that springs to mind as the most likely influence on JK. In Slavic mythology, there's a story about a fella named Coche the Deathless, who hid parts of his soul inside objects such as needles, eggs, hairs, and ducks in order to protect it. You could say that he was a real quack. While Coche was often portrayed as a naughty dude, he's the type of pest who's more likely to try and steal your lady than scar babies. But the way he placed fragments of his soul in hidden places is certainly similar to Voldemort's approach to immortality in the Harry Potter books. At the end of the day, all these dudes put their souls in objects to cheat death. Of course, JK Rowling put her own spin on the soul jar idea when she introduced Horcruxes to the wizarding world. In this universe, they represent the darkest and most powerful form of magic there is, and Horcruxes really are messed up creations. For a start, making one requires a witch or wizard to take someone's life in cold blood, which is frowned upon in most decent societies. Taking a life is the easy part too. Transferring parts of your soul into an object requires some top-notch spellcasting, and most magic folks don't even possess the knowledge, let alone the talent, to get the job done. But how does one create a Horcrux exactly? That knowledge is forbidden for a good reason, but here's what we do know about the process. The instructions on how to create the vessels can be found in a book called Secrets of the Darkest Art, which was kept in the restricted section of the Hogwarts library. That was until Dumbledore got rid of it when he became the headmaster, just in case the wrong type of wizard got any fancy ideas. However, it's believed that Tom Riddle discovered the book, and that's what led to him picking old Slughorn's brain.
7. Merlin's beard, Tom. Isn't it bad enough to consider killing one person?
One thing we do know about the art of creating Horcruxes is that it involves an act so despicable that it was too disturbing to mention in the books and movies. JK Rowling told her editor how they were made, only to be met with sheer disgust. That narrows down the theories though. Some fans believe that Voldemort was a cannibal, and this makes sense. There are countless stories about people eating others because they think that eating tasty human flesh will make them live longer. Plus, let's not forget that Voldemort drank unicorn blood, so cannibalism was probably no big deal either. And while he was a monster, there's no denying that he was a talented one.
He who must not be named did great things. Terrible. Yes, but great.
Of course, the cannibalism theory isn't foolproof. As you'll recall, Tom Riddle's first victim was Mornin Myrtle, whose ghost makes a few appearances in Harry Potter's adventures.
Come to throw something else at me.
Unlike nearly headless Nick, Myrtle's form doesn't show any signs of being picked apart, so her body probably wasn't eaten. But it is possible that her killer consumed her blood or used magic to cover up the cannibalism. After all, any signs of cannibalism would probably alert Dumbledore to the fact that one of his students was experimenting with the darkest magic around. So Tom would go out of his way to hide the evidence.
Is there something you wish to tell me?
No, sir. Nothing.
I'm sure you'll all agree that offing people is terrible, but if you need further convincing as to why you shouldn't make Horcruxes, think about what they do to one's physical appearance. When someone creates a Horcrux, they lose their humanity and become disfigured as a result. So if you were wondering why Voldemort didn't win any beauty pageants, just know that he only had himself to blame.
I confess myself disappointed.
Horcruxes are also super rare, so much so that only 2 wizards were ever known to have mastered the art form. The first known Horcrux was created by Herpo the Foul back in ancient Greece. Little's known about this guy, but if he made a Horcrux, then he's not the type of person you'd want to invite to a dinner party. Plus, if he had foul in his name, he probably smelled really bad. Lord Voldemort, on the other hand, took the art of Horcruxing to the next level. This rascal was so determined to live forever that he made 7 of them, and he made it really hard for the heroes of Hogwarts to destroy them. Let's start with the most confusing of the bunch. Tom Riddle's diary is the first Horcrux that Harry comes into contact with. In order to destroy it, the boy wizard must enter a dangerous chamber and defeat a giant snake.
No!
The young Voldemort we see here is basically a memory, but he almost became a sentient being again.
Give me my wand, Tom.
You won't be needing it.
If Tom completed his mission here, it would have led to 2 different versions of Voldemort running around and wreaking havoc. However, if Tom became a real boy again, he'd exist as a teenage Voldemort, unaware of all the dastardly deeds his adult self got up to after leaving Hogwarts.
Let's match the power of Lord Voldemort, heir of Salazar Slytherin, against the famous Harry Potter.
Fortunately, that never happened, and we don't have to worry about figuring out the logistics of Voldemort clones. Still, that doesn't mean the other Horcruxes weren't scary in their own right. Dumbledore learned that the hard way when he had to destroy Voldemort's mother's ring.
Difficult to find, even more difficult to destroy.
Or how about the locket that preyed on poor Ron's jealousy and insecurities?
We were better without you. Happier without you.
Who could look at you compared to Harry Potter?
Never underestimate Voldemort's sneakiness either. He might have been a Slytherin, but he also used the Hufflepuff cup and Ravenclaw's diadem to hide parts of his soul. That was smart on the evil wizard's part, as Harry, Ron, and Hermione didn't figure it out until it was almost too late. Still, if you really want to scare off potential assassins, then you can do a lot worse than using a deadly serpent as a Horcrux vessel. Just hope they don't come into contact with the almighty Neville Longbottom. Voldemort wasn't aware of all of his Horcruxes though. When he tried to kill Harry, he unwittingly linked their souls together.
How did you escape with nothing but a scar while Lord Voldemort's powers were destroyed?
Then when he who must not be named eventually took Harry's life in the woods, he destroyed that connection and a part of himself with it. All of Voldemort's Horcruxes were personal and significant to him in some way, which proved to be his undoing in the end. Maybe if he hid them in more unexpected objects, he'd have succeeded in his quest for immortality and world domination. Then again, Horcruxes are vile things, and you'd better be prepared to face the consequences if you tamper with that kind of dark magic. Moral of the story, play with fire and expect to get burnt. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to check out our explainer of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.